Ladies and gentlemen, rebel scum and loyal to the Empire, this is Sith Talk, the show that talks all things Star Wars movies, Star Wars TV, Star Wars books, and definitely plenty of Star Wars movie news, Star Wars trailers. I am your host, Zach, aka the Lord of Lore, and joining me, as always, is Brandon, and joining me regularly lately is the Lady of Lore, Lindsay. Guys, how is everybody doing? Take the floor.
I'm really good. I think I was just telling you guys I just finished a phenomenal dinner at home. So if I start to doze off a little bit, that's why. But super excited for what we're talking about. So I think I should be able to make it through without falling
It's
asleep.
it's a tad exciting. It's a tad
It's
exciting.
a little
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. It's gonna be a good night. We're gonna talk Mando and Grogu trailer. We've been waiting to sit down and be able to do this, so it's gonna be a really good time talking the trailer.
I know you're very excited, but you got to get into you, Brandon. How have you been doing, and what have you been Star
Dude,
Warsing?
I have just been insanely busy with work. And winning awards left and right. So, no big deal.
Multiple,
Hell yeah!
multiple
Multiple
awards.
awards. Multiple awards. And yeah, and working on the book and just staying crazy busy, man. Yeah, it's been good.
Me and Sarah just got back from Chicago, so we didn't do. We just kind of went up there for shopping. She loves to shop because her job is now fashion, and a lot of her job is like really high priced fashion stuff. So she's always had a taste for it, but it's like it's nice going there with her because it's like one, it's a thing we do for our vacation, but it's like also like a fun little work thing to like see like, oh wow, you have this at your store, you have this, so it's like we just had a good time. So we just got back and we're excited to talk Star Wars, the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer with you guys. um and we were recording this on a Sunday, so Sunday chill vibes. So yeah, let's get right into it. The Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. How did you guys feel about it? First reactions. Take it.
I don't know if it's that I had set the bar too low. I don't think I did. I think I was very realistic with where I set the bar. This trailer came out though, and it just went up like 100 notches with where I think this is going to be. It was exciting. We've talked about this before, but it didn't feel like it was trying to be the be all end all Star Wars. And it just seems to me like this is going to be a real classic, like Jim Henson Star Wars and fun creatures, and we're just getting back into like having a good time.
Brandon.
Yeah, that's what I feel like too. I feel like we're getting back to the core of Star Wars. We're getting back to really going on those adventures and getting the action, but then we're also going to have the lore behind it. We're going to have the character development behind it. We're going to have the relationships behind it, that really made things like A New Hope work. Like, um, even in all the action and adventure of that movie of A New Hope, we still got the heart, the humanity of the people that really made it work. And that's going to be, I think, the thing that really brings this movie home for me, is going to be bringing in that heart of those characters. And that's really what made The Mandalorian work so well, is the relationships that exist between, Mando and Grogu, and the relationship that then exists between us and those characters. So I'm really excited to be able to spend time with them again. It's been, what, 3 years since the end of season 3, so it's been a long time since we really got really like new content with these characters, right? Because like the teaser trailer didn't really give us a ton, and didn't really do much. This trailer gave us, well, it didn't give us the story, it gave us a lot of the like talking points that we're going to have in the story, and I think that's really, really cool. So it felt like coming home in a little bit of a way of speaking, to
Are you
these
saying that the
characters.
Super Bowl commercial though didn't give you all the information that you needed and enough to really
I
get you
mean,
excited?
well, really, the plot of the movie is we're going to Hoth to drink beer. That's really what's happening in the movie. So
And
it's
that's
gonna
what we
be
should
good.
have been doing the entire time, arguably.
Honestly, if they had just cracked a cold one, when they were on Hoth and been like, you know what, guys, it's not that bad here. Maybe things would have worked out fine.
Yeah, what a way to spend a marketing budget. Although with that specific move,
$7 million for that movie.
No.
Yeah,
so
$7
what I
million.
hate what I hate is I could see the marketing pitch that made that happen. I can see a marketing guy's pitch for that and
Mm-hmm.
why that would
Oh
work.
yeah.
It just
I mean,
theoretically that's what happens when you wear a suit and you push it and you push numbers, but you don't actually know the product. You have to fucking know the product.
well, it's a matter of like, is it true that there's no bad publicity? Because really, that was probably the ad that got talked about the most after the Super Bowl because people were upset with it, right? And so then Mando and Grogu was the in the zeitgeist, and then this trailer comes out. We get the announcement of it, we get this trailer coming out, and then it kind of in a lot of ways blows our minds because I feel like this is a movie that had low expectations until we got this trailer, and now we're talking about it, right? And that Super Bowl trailer kind of lowered those expectations even more. So maybe in a reverse psychology kind of way, it was a genius.
Maybe, but for me, I would say that not so much because I remember the feeling that I got when the Deadpool trailer came out, and I
Mm-hmm.
ultimately did not get that feeling. And that those were both like Super Bowl releases in the last recent couple years. And ultimately, I was very excited when the Deadpool trailer came out. I thought it was really well done with what they did. With the Mandalorian Grogu, I kind of just like it came and went. And when you're spending $7 million, I don't know if you want that. I think that's
I
all.
think the only reason why you could possibly say maybe it could work is because this full length trailer came out soon enough after,
Mm-hmm.
where this wasn't a teaser for the trailer. Like, I absolutely hate that we're in a world where there's a teaser for a trailer now. But there was something to keep us going, and what they ended up giving us is so, so good. And like, there's so much that we need to unpack. So why don't we dive into the actual trailer and what we're kind of excited for, and maybe even if any predictions have changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get,
Zach,
get
you want
right
to
into
start?
it with what we're excited for. So I
Yeah,
would
go
say
for it, Zach.
I would say specifically. So I'm having a trouble like with. So I don't know if I would necessarily use the words excited for. What I'm hoping for when it comes to this movie is I love what I'm seeing as far as the shots go themselves. I want to know, and I know this is crazy. Like, I want the story. I'm waiting for the story. And I know we might have to wait to
Mm.
the movie because Star Wars is very much. Um, it's one thing that I appreciate about Star Wars. They're very vague with their trailers sometimes, but like, I want to know why these characters are coming back. It's been a couple years, and I'm not saying like why, as in like why you would normally ask, but I just mean like what is the story of this? Why are they coming back? How much time has passed? What is the deeper meaning behind this? I believe that there is a deeper meaning behind this movie. I believe it has to be. A lot of the concerns that I've talked about with this movie kind of being superficial as it gets serious and like starts to really become you joke all the time, Brandon, like a real thing. Like you don't believe the movies are real until you sit down and go
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
as it's starting to get real, it's easy to talk shit when they're shooting it. It's easy to talk shit when a poster's up. I just want when what I'm hoping for is I want the payoff of the emotional bond of these characters. And in the story of the Mandalorian, he chose to get him back. He chose to bring him back into his life. They both chose each other to be in each other's life. I want to know what that bond means to them right now, and that's what I want that movie to tell me. That's what I'm hoping.
I feel hopeful about it because of it's a great and like really powerful line where Din, I don't know who he's going to be talking to, but he makes the comment and the observation like this guy's going to be around for centuries after I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like a lot of this is going to be Din starting to realize kind of his own mortality in this relationship, and like what does he want to pass on and give him the foundation. And I wonder if there's even some kind of fear if we're talking a kid Yoda. is he even going to remember him? We're moving on from Baby Yoda into Kid Yoda, but given the lifespan, Din might even be struggling with, is he going to remember me when I'm gone?
So is this a legacy story? Is it a story of
I think
potentially a
so.
man who maybe wants to leave his mark on a galaxy, but how do you leave your mark on somebody who's gonna live until they're 700 something years old? You know, a galaxy is one thing, but a kid, you know, is he gonna even scratch a dent? That's actually a very interesting plot point. I hope that becomes part of that story, because that through line alone of the dialogue, that is a pretty good, like, how do you make a, you know, how do you make a dent in somebody's life when it's that long? I hope they, yeah, I hope they get to that. I love that.
Yeah, I think that idea of legacy is something that has become persistent in Star Wars really since Return of the Jedi, and like what's the impact and legacy that you leave. And, we see it time and time again, whether it's Anakin and Luke, or whether it's, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, or any of these connections that we have, Anakin and Ahsoka, of like what lives on in the people that you impact in your life, what are the lessons that they take with them to continue on. And so we've seen Din want to bring Grogu into this Mandalorian culture, but not really having a grasp on how to do that, right? Because Grogu is different from other Mandalorians, and Grogu has the Force and all of these things. So to see now that we're in this place, and this is the vibe that I got in the trailer, where he's no longer, it's the do or do not, there is no try, right? He's no longer trying to bring Grogu into being a Mandalorian. He is raising Grogu to be a Mandalorian because he has figured out what really matters to him, and I think we're going to get an establishment of that. And I think that's really interesting too when you consider like the helmet coming off, right? And how much of a plot point that was in season 3. We got 2 shots of Mando without his helmet on, right? And the idea that, okay, every time he's going to take his helmet off, he's going to have to go bathe in the waters and stuff is kind of lame. So I don't think they're going that way. But I don't think Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are just going to be like, let's just ignore, the entire plot of season 3. So there's some kind of lesson in there of like, I have to establish my way of being a Mandalorian, right? And I have to establish that with Grogu. And Grogu is a Mandalorian with the Force. Grogu is a Mandalorian Jedi, which we haven't seen since what, Tar Vizsla, or I think that's who created the dark saber. So it's been centuries since then. So like, there's a lot to think about in terms of the impact that he's going to leave on him, and that legacy that's going to be carried on, and to know that like I might not be the biggest thing in his life, but he's the biggest thing in mine. Really, when I thought about it, it's kind of like a reverse dog human relationship, right?
I thought the
Right?
same thing. Yep.
So it's like a dog's gonna be in a human's life for, a short span, a third, a fifth of their life, but you're gonna be in a dog's life their whole life. You're gonna be their whole world, right? And so how do you wrap your head around the impact that those two dynamics have on each other? Is It's compelling. It's compelling storytelling, and it's something that we haven't had the opportunity to dig into in Star Wars because our major characters have all lived relatively similar lengths of time. We don't really spend time with Yoda much after the fall of the Jedi Order and get to explore that a lot because it's really just focused on Luke's story. But Luke, Han, and Leia don't live much without each other.
Yeah.
Luke didn't know Anakin long enough. We get a little bit of it with Ahsoka having to deal with the trauma of losing Anakin, but then you get Shadow Warrior and stuff like that, where it's like there still is an ability to connect there. Din doesn't have the Force. Din is not living past his death. He's not going to become a Force ghost.
So, you know what else I think is going to be really fun to go back to and explore in a different way? You mentioned the dichotomy between being a Jedi and being a Mandalorian, and what does that kind of merge look like? What does it mean? Something they made it very clear in this trailer that we're going back to is the bounty hunter. That's
Mhm.
kind of a lost concept if you think of it after season one. We saw him go after these early bounties, but now, yeah, season two, season three, we didn't really get that. Now it seems like we're going back to that, and he's trying to still do this in a really moral way and impart these lessons. So it's going to be almost this like trifecta of Jedi, Mando, and bounty hunter. And that alone is going to be an interesting plot point.
Yeah, the bounty hunter thing is going to be interesting because it's like, how do you exist in an immoral world when you have a moral compass, right? Is going to be something that we have to consider, and something that has to be considered in this post Empire world where things are really back to actually being like the Wild West. We talk about Star Wars being the Wild West and stuff like that, but when you have fascism raining down, it's kind of hard for it to fully be the Wild West. We know the Republic didn't do a great job of establishing itself, and things were kind of freewheeling. And if we're going to spend a lot of time on Nar Hutta or Nar Shaddaa or whatever, there's a lot that's going to be brought into question about what you were talking
Really
about,
hope
Lindsay,
we
with the
get that.
morality.
I really do.
I really do too. Like, I don't think this needs to be a planet hopping adventure. We'll get Navarro, we'll get the Adelphi base, and then we'll get Nar Hutta or Nar Shaddaa, or whichever, or both. But like, I don't think we need to go to 7 and 8 planets on in this 2.5 hours that we're gonna get. I'm guessing the runtime there, but
I think we need 12
keep
per
it
minute,
small.
actually. Like, if we
12 planets per minute, that sounds about right. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had a fucking
Planet
Star Wars
hopping, guys.
movie in forever. I just want to get the whole universe the first time around.
Yeah, let's just get bounced around to all the planets.
You bring up an interesting point, and this is
we'll be the first one to see them all.
Yeah. But you do bring up an interesting point, and for like somebody like the little old Republic nerd like me, I really do hope we actually get Nar Shaddaa. Like, I think that would be like, and I understand, like, is it that a cameo thing? Can you stick any city in there and call it something else and make? Yes, I understand that, but like, it's kind of like Nar Shaddaa is one of those cities where it's like everybody in the Star Wars group, like, they know what it is, but like, it's not a major thing. So it'd be nice if we could like have it in the canon as like officially in there, just from like a fanboy nerd status, because I spent time in the city in Old Republic too. Like, you spend like a whole like amount of time
It's
like
been a
in
good
that
amount,
planet.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's super fun to like kind of see how weird and twisted a like a seedy, greedy ass fucking city is. I mean, like, it would be nice to see more of that in Star Wars. If you're gonna do Mandalorian and Grogu, like, take Grogu through the fucking galaxy. And I think that's part of like perspectives too. When it goes to Grogu, I think there's so many interesting things that they could do with him as a character later on down the line, and including right now. I mean, like, obviously, Grogu is a cash cow, always, has been ever since the first episode that we've seen him. But it's like, what are you going to do after this? Because, Pedro Pascal, I mean, I know this movie's coming out and there might be another one, who knows, but like, there's so much up in the air. Like, is he going to be, do we think he's going to be the Mandalorian for like 2 or 3 more movies? My biggest thing, and the reason why I'm asking like kind of 600 questions, is you go back to Legacy. There's so much opportunity to have Grogu a part of a lot of Star Wars zeitgeist from here on out. Any future stories, he doesn't have to be the main character, but he can be an Ahsoka like character for the future timeline. Part of life is also there are different versions of us. I am different than when I was in my 20s. I was different when I was in my teenage years. Part of seeing
Just
Grogu
wait till you're
is
800,
like,
dude.
right. That's what I'm saying. Skip his 300s when he's like clearly doing coke, but like 400 years down the timeline, after like Ray's had like 400 like Ben children, and there's a new lineage to like worry about, he'll be like right there at the top of the council, and it'll be like, oh yeah, the times I did in my 300s when I did all that spice, weird times. But I'm just saying, there's a
I
lot
think
of
you're
potential
spot on.
for the character to have a lifetime. So that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
and I think that's why I'm encouraged when we look at this trailer and we see him actually having something to do. Like, it's clear that there's going to be some kind of character development to Grogu in this story, right? We went from him essentially being a prop in season 1 to season 2. He's the motivating factor, but doesn't have a lot of agency, right? He's doing cute stuff. Some of the stuff, like with the spiders, he causes stuff to happen, but he doesn't have a lot of agency. Move to season 3, and we get him in, sweet action spots and stuff like that. Now it looks like, okay, now we've got some agency, we've got some decision making that he's doing. He can wield the force to some
A little
extent.
more murder,
Uh,
just a little bit.
yeah, just a tad
Just
bit.
a smidge. Just a smidge.
Just,
I mean, if
just a
you
tad.
remember, one of my biggest gripes with season 2 is that he was too much of like the baby. They leaned way too much into the baby part of it.
Mhm.
Season 3, you're right, he starts to get a little bit more to do, but it still didn't feel like the stakes were real at that point, and it still felt more like comic relief whenever he had something to do, or it was like, oh, look how cute he is going to get Bo all on his own. That's adorable. I hope that this is taking out. It can still be funny, right, and it can still hit those comedic notes, but I hope it's something a little bit more serious than just look how cute and isn't that adorable.
Well, I think that the scene when he's walking with the staff through the greenery or whatever, I know that's like a 1 second clip that I'm about to surmise this from, but I think that is leaning in that direction. That moment kind of made me feel like, okay, he's going on some kind of journey, and they're signaling that, him tightening the armor and stuff, all makes me feel pretty comfortable in that idea that he's going to have some kind of journey that he's going to go on. I want this movie to be called The Mandalorian and Grogu for a reason. Otherwise, you could just call it, The Mandalorian and the blah, 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 an Indiana Jones type thing. You're calling it The Mandalorian and Grogu, one, because the names sell, yes. But if you're going to put, two characters in the title, give two characters development in the story.
Also, then you can call the sequel The Mandalorian and Grow 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy.
Obviously.
Easy.
Yeah.
That's the only
And
reason.
the sequel, the third one is going to be Mandalorian and Growing. It's gonna continue on. It's gonna be great. No,
Oh man.
I think honestly, as I think about it now, I hadn't really thought about this much before. I think a major linchpin on the success of this movie is going to be Grogu being more of a character, and us starting to get that movement towards someone who can be the future of Star Wars, because we do have a century's worth of life, or excuse me, like a millennia's worth of life left for this character. If he's 53 years old, we'll say now, there's a ton to still happen. And we don't really know how the species ages, other than that they can live to be 900 years old at least. We don't know, do they have like 50 years as a baby, and then there's just this great growth spurt, and then at 100 to their Yoda proper. They can do whatever they need to with this character to give us these future stories. And if we're going to use this, and it's going to eventually lead to this team up thing that they haven't said doesn't exist yet or is not happening, if we're going to get, all of these characters and he's going to be the linchpin, we've got to have some development there.
Do you think we're getting that?
I don't know how we don't. Because at some point they've got to wrap streaming, right? And unless you want to really just give up Thrawn as this big villain that you're trying to build him up to be, unless you want to give up all that legwork, you kind of have to. It's just a matter of, is this movie going to be successful enough to justify it? And then, is it successful enough for it to justify it as one more movie? Is it successful enough for it to justify it as 5 more movies? Like, that's going to be the big determining factor to me. It's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when it happens. And it's a matter of who all is involved. Are you getting Luke involved in this? Are you getting, a Leia involved? Are you getting a Han involved? Or are you sticking just with this Mandoverse group of characters? there's a whole
I mean,
litany of questions, but I think
I
it
don't
makes
think
sense.
it's ever going to happen just because Katie Sackhoff has just kind of come outright and said she's not happy with her performance as Bo-Katan, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like she'd be more open to doing more of the animated stuff. I think the natural next step would be to go back to Bo and have like Mandalore be what carries this on.
I think that would be interesting. I don't think that that's the direction that they're going for sure. I think maybe in a future movie, maybe this is maybe they
But
say
that's
like once a year in
I'm
Columbus,
not
maybe this is a
saying
trilogy.
hot take. I'm not even saying like they do that as the most natural next step, but that's the only way I could see this going on. How many more seasons, or for 5 more movies, or 6 seasons in a movie again? Like it has to be some kind of pivot because I just don't see there being enough of a story here anymore after this.
I'm just trying to
Mm,
download Katie Sackhoff not liking her performance as Bo Katan.
yeah,
Yeah, she
where
says it
did
actually pretty often. She says it pretty often on her podcast.
okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, and it might not be on like the primary podcast. It might be in the Patreon
right.
content.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I listened to her podcast, but it has been a minute, so I need to probably check that out again. Um,
And she doesn't bash the show,
no,
and
I
she
just
doesn't
know
bash the
she
character.
loves to
She
play
literally
it.
bashes her own performance.
Yeah, and that kind of probably tracks, but I know she would probably play live. She'd do anything Disney wanted her to do. I'm pretty sure she would,
Yeah,
as far as
I'm
like being
sure.
invoked.
Yeah,
I always thought
and
that the show would continue as far as the story of Mandalorian with her anyway. I just thought Din would probably like move up to like the movies, kind of much of what's happening now. So like I always thought there would be a continuation of that. But like kind of going into back to the collective of everything, like all of these movies, it's tough to know like how far is this movie going to go, because right now it seems like it's got a very ununiverse affecting plot, but then like there's Thrawn around this time. Like
mhm.
what's going on with everything? Like is there any predictions that like maybe the trailer isn't showing outside of like a reveal? Like, what do you think is Thrawn a part of this? More than just like a very quick thing? Like, do we see something? Like, was that just a what was it? Makes sense.
Mm,
What do you think it is? Because you have to plant a fucking flag, guys. We were talking about this the whole time. You have to plant a flag in a movie, and if you're gonna do a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, tell the statement. What is Thrawn doing here?
I don't think we see Thrawn. I think it's more likely we get a reference to him from like a Hera or an Ezra appearance
Okay.
of like,
I think Morgan Elsbeth.
see, that's a timeline thing. Is Morgan Elsbeth alive now? Because she dies in Ahsoka season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, so
So, so
when
I'm
I guess yeah, when is this in the timeline?
yeah, that's what we don't know. I'm working under the assumption. I always go under the assumption of this is happening after the last thing that we saw, unless it's laid out otherwise.
It
So
is. Because what if Morgan Elsbeth is one of the bounties that he needs to bring in?
See,
And
look what
that's
I
how it
said.
ends.
That's why you have to ask.
that could be true, but I think it makes the most sense. This does not mean that this is what they're going to do. To me, it just makes the most sense to have this story happen after, and this be the thing where you introduce Thrawn or this threat to a larger audience, right? Because Morgan Elsbeth's not going to have an impact on a larger audience in the same way as saying like, hey, there's this bigger threat out there. Like her being the threat is not going to be a big impact, and if you make her just the calling card of it, I don't think that's very interesting. I think if you have one of the heroes who you, whether you set them up earlier in the film or you have Zeb be like this person that I trust, and they've established Zeb as a trustworthy character, and then Hera comes in or something like that, where it's like somebody that we care about and trust is now scared of this person, and then we get the introduction of Thrawn as this larger threat. I think makes sense for a movie that is going to be, yes, it's going to be continuing this story, but it's also going to be introducing a lot of people to these characters for the first time. Like, I think that's something we have to keep in mind.
What if the goal is not to introduce for the first time, but more of a continuation? So I think some interesting things around this. Again, this all depends on the timeline. Could be, are they somehow starting to protect Rey at an early age without knowing it?
Mm.
It could be, and I'd have to go back. This is something I've been wanting to do anyway, but go back and listen to The Perfect Weapon and get the exact kind of like trajectory and what we know of the lightsaber. Because what if this is even like some kind of way of finding these other rare materials and bringing in? But I think it would be cool. I'm not saying I think this is going to happen. It would just be cool to have some kind of connecting thread into the new Skywalker saga, right? Kind of connecting the
Yeah.
middle and the sequel sagas and keeping it more, like you said, larger audience based.
Well, but I think Thrawn can be that. As much as, I hate to say it, like him being the one who then, I know really we've kind of gotten this with Ray Sloan, but they'll ignore the books. But to have Thrawn be the one that like sends the First Order out there or helps establish, through the hyperspace travel how to get to the farthest reaches of the unknown region, kind of like he did by going to another galaxy. Something like that, I think, makes a lot of sense to keep it contained, but then also, yeah, tie it, Lindsay, like you were saying, to these new character, or excuse me, to the new Skywalker saga, while also involving these new characters.
Yeah, and I also think so. I mean, we're just talking about Thrawn potentially and what this would all mean. I know Disney loves using like the Marvel blueprint, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like kind of laughing that right now, like there used to be like a purple dude who was like really big and like he like controlled the universe, and now there's like this blue dude, but he's
Little
like
blue guy.
Yeah.
kind of controlling. It's almost like if you just kind of do something like that, it might work. I don't
Yeah,
know.
just get a guy that's like some variation of a primary color, and we'll be good.
The Thrawn of it all and what that could lead to is it's a big what if for me. They're like, don't get me wrong, everything that I've questioned for this movie all the way up to the announcement, like it still has the potential to be a very good movie, and I like what I see as more things materialize. My questions have always been based on what I have or have not received, and so that's why I always like getting together with the podcast and kind of going over all this stuff, because I think it's helpful to kind of even just kind of see what a story plot goes, because there's so many
Mm-hmm.
ways you could go with this. And then like I think of like, do we think in this movie, do we think Ahsoka's coming in through? Because like she would have to be a plant, like she, you don't think she would be somebody that is like,
Somewhere involved. Yeah.
well,
No.
but part of me says they're gonna tease a movie, man. Whether this movie works or not, like financially as a box, whether it makes 450 in the box office or it makes 2 billion, they're still going to put a tease for a next movie in.
I don't think so, because I don't think the timeline matches up regardless of where this takes place. Because if this takes place in season 3, then
That is
she's
fair.
off kind of hiding away, post training Sabine, doing her own thing.
But what about Marvel?
Or what do you mean?
So like Marvel does a lot of these things where they end their movies with like this big cataclysmic
Right.
thing, and then in the first 5 minutes of the next movie, it's like, oh well, we've solved this. Like Ahsoka could very much well, even in season 2, be back, and there might be something else with other characters. Like we never know. Like I know
Mm,
that's unlikely, and I know you don't like that. I'm just saying it is a possibility. I don't
yeah,
like that.
I think if we do get a tease of a next movie, I think it's like a
A throne.
Hera announcing Thrawn's
Okay.
arrival or something like that, or we see, the reverse side of the end of season 1 of Ahsoka, and we see Thrawn arriving to the galaxy, proper rather than Ezra or something like that. Anything like that, I think makes more sense. And listen, I'm just waiting for the day that Ahsoka makes it on the big screen because y'all know I'm going to get kicked out of the theater because I'm going to scream like a little girl. This
I
just
hope
isn't it.
I hope Ahsoka does. It's just I hope that it's earned and not just Dave Filoni greenlighting something. You know what I mean?
And I think that's what this would be. Like, the thing is, this movie already has a lot going on, right? When you think of all the characters involved, you've got Mando, you've got Grogu. We haven't even talked about Embo. You've got the twins. You've got
Oh yeah.
Stinky the Hut. You've got, all of these characters that are
I
involved.
mean,
And
also I'm gonna lose my fucking mind if Sigourney Weaver is in this movie and all she does is just talk from the other side of the table. Like, I want her going full Ripley at some point. So let's just fingers crossed add Sigourney Weaver to the long list of characters.
right, there's so many people involved in this that, like, you've this is your first movie in what you're hoping is a series of films. You've got to leave something back, right? You and yes, you want your Tony Stark walking into the bar, extra scene moment, but I don't think you pull out uh the single biggest character to not have her own movie in Star Wars in somebody else's premiere movie. That's a Mando and Grow 2 movie. That's what is where that takes place at.
See, it's catching on.
It's catching on, it's everybody's talking about it. Sports Illustrated talks about it. The Bleacher Report talks about it. Two people got that reference.
I love that.
But this movie needs to be its own thing more than it needs to set up future things, right? That's what it's
Yeah.
because it's got to play it safe that way, right? Just financially. That's why I think if we get something at the end, it's going to be just a reference that they can then go into a TV series and pay off that reference. It's like, we just referenced it in a movie. We didn't show Thrawn. It wasn't that big of a deal. Don't blow it out of proportion,
Yeah.
right? You put Ahsoka on screen. This movie makes $300 million on a $400 million budget. I don't know, I'm making up these numbers. But this movie loses money, right? And you put Ahsoka on the screen, and that's where you put Ahsoka's appearance, and then now you're going to try to make an Ahsoka movie? No, that's not it.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, from a two more people will get this from a WWE perspective. Like, you're not going to push somebody. You don't push Ahsoka right away. You take your time with that, and that's exactly what I think. That's all I'm trying to say with the Mandalorian and Grogu, in general, of even asking the question of the bigger picture. And one of the people I follow on the online stratosphere, Robert Meyer Burnett, he always says, never put your universe before your movie. I agree 1000%, but also
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm trying to make sure that this movie isn't a we need a movie to put in theaters. I'm hoping for more, which is and I'm also like, I want to take this movie for what it is too. So I'm going to start looking for the more positive stuff and more of the intriguing things to me, because I'm seeing more things I like and it's becoming more real. So let's start asking the questions. And so for me, it's like, I do want to see what this stratosphere looks like, because the idea is, if this movie does well, and if Ahsoka does well, and Dave finds his footing as the new head of Lucasfilm, there are plans for this, and I'm intrigued by those plans. I am very, because even though I want the new Jedi Order, the old Jedi Order, 1,000 Old Republic movies, I'm intrigued to see what a Thrawn does in this timeline.
I just want to level set, though, because we're also talking about the same studio that within, like, the ending, 30 seconds maybe, just dropped Darth Plagueis into a show with absolutely no plan for what was going to happen. Right? So do we really want another little name drop, or we're going to see this character
No.
just for potentially nothing to happen again?
No, but I am
I
curious on
think
what
that's
they're gonna do.
I think that's connecting apples and ice cream though. Like I really do. Because The Acolyte was a show that won. From what we have heard on the inside, there was a lot of reservations about whether it was actually working, and they had a lot of fingers, in the pie, bringing in a lot of food into this analogy. But Mando and Grogu has a lot established behind it. There's a lot less risk in putting a Thrawn or an Ahsoka or somebody in this, especially because we've had Luke and we've had Bo-Katan and we've had Boba Fett, and so I get where you're making that connection. I just don't think that connection is necessarily the one to make here. I think this is more of I think it's closer to Marvel in that like these characters have a history behind them, they have a weight behind them, even if it hasn't happened in this medium, right? For Marvel, it had happened in the comics before the cinematic universe started, right? And then you get that first end credit scene with Tony Stark coming in. So I think it's a little bit different here. Like I get where you're coming from. I don't think it's necessary. Like if I walk out of this movie and there's no reference to Thrawn, no reference to Ahsoka or anything like that,
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
be
it's
fine.
totally fine.
Yeah.
But I think the cards kind of indicate that. It goes back to past wars. With the war in Iraq, where they had the playing cards with the most wanted terrorist on them. It references real world things, but also sets up oh, here's the card they haven't gotten, right? It just makes it very tangible of like this is the next one. So your ace of spades, your queen of hearts, whichever card you want to call it, that's Thrawn, right? And we don't have to get that in this movie. But I don't think we're gonna get it in like Ahsoka season 2 or anything like that. Like I think they have bigger plans, and Filoni being in charge of everything now. I know Lin Brennan is in charge of the finances and stuff, but bottom line, guys, like if this movie makes money, which it's going to, let's just level set that this movie is going to make money. It kind of guarantees anything you put these characters on is going to make money. Mando,
Yeah.
Grogu, Thrawn, Ahsoka, they're going to make money. And that's what her job is make the studio money. Filoni's job is to make the cool shit, right? Lin Win's job is to make sure the cool shit makes money, which comes to the marketing and stuff like that. And going back to our original conversation of the Super Bowl ad, they're doing it. They're getting people talking about it, right? Regardless of how they're going about it. But that aside, here's a question I wanted to know from you guys. What's like the thing you didn't expect to get you excited about this movie that this trailer got you excited about? Like the thing that was just like out of the blue for you. For me, it was the creatures. I'm not a creatures guy, but the number of monsters and creatures and aliens we saw in this, I was like, hell yeah, I'm here for it.
Damn, that was going to be my answer. And for the same exact reason. Like, I've just never been that's not my thing, right? And when we do all of the from a certain point of views and we go through all 40 of those stories at a time, like those creature ones are even my least favorites. But
Yep.
there was
Looking
something
at you,
about
Dianoga,
seeing
looking at you.
exactly. But there was something really cool and tangible. And just going back to, hey, look, we're not just going to have some scattered around creatures, but these are going to be real parts of the story. That it made me excited because I think that shows this is something a little different, right? And not different in a solo type way or a Rogue One type way, but just like we know what this story is meant to be. And it is more of that kind of thrill ride as opposed to this needs to move mountains. You did touch on another that I can steal if I need, but Zach, I want to hear your answer before I talk about that.
Yeah, so mine is really boring. I want to know, like, if we're gonna be getting this like kind of story, I want to know what that arena is. I want to know what that arena
Mm,
is, what the huts are at, what they're up to. I want to know what I want to see what kind of like. I know it's crazy, but I want to know everything about the huts. Like, I want to hear some kind of like fucking dialogue that's like, did you hear about Jabba? Did you hear about the shit with Boba? That shit just happened. Like, Boba
yeah,
just kind of took over. Like, he just went full like. So I mean, like, there's been so many power shifts, and the way, like, especially like even in the Darth Plagueis book, like the huts speak very, like they're very much so like we're going to play to the current conditions and then we have plans if those conditions change. I want to know how the Huts are handling the New Republic since the collapse of the Empire. Is business good? Is business bad? How is all of that affect? And is that part of this movie? I would imagine something like that would affect or be the one of the through lines of the movie. But I'm legitimately interested. Like when I see things that look like Nar Shaddaa, I want to see the seedy side. Like that says, okay, if you are going to do this and you're going to tell me a Hut story, and everybody who's been listening has known I've made fun of this thing. If you're gonna do this, show me what the fuck's up. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I think we will, because going back to kind of the other thing that got me excited, if we're going to have Embo in this, and this is like a real kind of like fearsome looking Embo, and I believe, oh my god, I can't believe I'm blanking on the like wolf creature's name. But I think that creature is also in this.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think if we're gonna start pulling in like some bounty hunter heavy hitters, say that 5 times fast.
You
If
couldn't
we're
even say
gonna
it one time
no,
slow.
I couldn't even do
So
it one time. But if we're gonna start pulling in those kind of characters, yeah, I think we're gonna get more into the power dynamics and a quick little catch up.
And that's what I'd love to like. That's what I want to see. I want to see a galaxy that's like kind of been run through the ringer, because the only way that you add to the sequel trilogy is to like do the Filoni effect. And I'm not like saying like Dave Filoni needs to fix them like that. The sequel trilogies are like what they are to other people. But what I'm saying is like add to the world, add flavor to the world. What led to the events of the First Order taking through? What led to this like final? Because like the reality of Star Wars is this Empire came in, then they left, then the rebels came in, now they're the governors, and then it happened again. That's a lot that a galaxy goes through in like the
yeah,
span of
it's a lot of
200
shifts.
years. So I want to see like what that galaxy looks like going through what would be their second government collapse in the last like 40 years. Like how you guys doing?
Yeah, yeah, not great. The answer is
Hey,
no
Bob,
bueno.
like
Been
Bob's
better.
Rick. I just want to be like, hey. But that
We're
is what
all a
is
little on
interesting.
spice.
And
Yeah.
to add to all that, how do you make a good little space alien named Grogu? How do you father somebody like that in a galaxy that doesn't even know itself? How do you explain how that world looks? That's what I want. I just want the movie to tell me a personal story of a father and son, because that's what it is to me. That's what I look for in a movie like that. If you're going to do Mandalorian Grogu, tell me the story of a father and a son, and I'm excited to see it. And that's like kind of shifting a little bit, but be the story. Like I think, and I hear it in you guys too. Like be everything I want you to be, but like don't be too much either. Is that weird to say? It's
Yeah,
like
no,
just be a good
100%.
movie.
Yeah.
Just be a good movie.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to the original thing that I brought up, which is Star Wars is about good characters, right? And the reason we talk about Thrawns and we talk about Ahsokas and we talk about these characters is because they're compelling characters, right? I have my own feelings about Thrawn, but like a lot of people find Thrawn extremely compelling. A lot of people find Ahsoka extremely compelling. But the reason we're getting a Mandalorian and Grogu movie is because a lot of people find the Mandalorian and Grogu compelling,
Yeah.
right? So it doesn't
Sports
depend
Illustrated
on these
finds
other
him.
characters. Sports Illustrated, the Bleacher Report finds him compelling. If you get that reference, please leave it in the comments or say something wherever you're watching this clip at, because Zach and I need to know. God, now I'm lost my train of thought. But these characters don't need somebody else to be able to stand, right? And I think because we got so much of legacy characters in season 2, and then we focus so much on Mandalore in season 3 of this show, people forget how fucking good season 1 of this show was, right? Like, it's what established it. It's what created everything that we're getting now, right? Like, season 1 doesn't do well enough, and you're not bringing in Luke Skywalker to season 2. You haven't earned it, because these characters don't mean enough to people, right? This show earned it, and it earned a movie, right, for these two characters. Like, yeah, you can say, well, Disney wanted to make money. Exactly. These two characters make money because people care. People vote with their dollar bills, and they're voting that these characters matter. And so in our conversation, we've talked a lot about, bringing in all these other characters and the potential, because it's fun to surmise those kind of things and speculate on those kind of things. But if you give us all those things and you don't give us Din and Grogu just going on a great adventure and growing their bond together, it doesn't matter how many times you put Ahsoka in the movie, or if you have Hera fight with a lightsaber. It's not going to change that this isn't what the movie needs to be.
I mean, I'm also just gonna say one big area we haven't touched on at all is for all the Mandalorian, for all the bounty hunters, for all the, potential New Republic. There's a shit ton of stormtroopers in this. Like, that still kind of has to be a part of this. But to your point, Brandon, I think that shows that this can kind of stand on its own, because we don't need something totally new and, a sharp left turn. There's still going to be so many like elements of familiarity here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Like, we're still in the same galaxy. I think if anything, this trailer just added to that. It didn't take away from that idea.
Yeah, and I again, like, if this movie just does a good job telling us why we're here, and then lets us have fun on the journey, I'll be happy. Like, I really will. I know we ask all these questions, but they're fun to ask. But at the end of the day, just give me a good movie with a good story, and I'm going to be really happy. And so far, I do appreciate Jon Favreau. You can tell he loves this franchise. And I remember at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, before this series ever aired, he was talking about like filming in his garage. I want that kind of thing. I hope they made the movie with that same kind of stuff. Like, I do appreciate the skeleton crew, like 80s retro fitted Henson vibe, as well. So aesthetically, yeah. So I'm turning. I'm not gonna say like I'm super excited, but I'm saying I am turning a page, and I'm hoping that I continue to like more of what I see. So, with that being said, do we have any final thoughts about the trailer?
I'm fucking excited for this movie. That's about it.
Do you guys think Mando is making it out of this alive?
Yes. Are you crazy?
Yeah. I mean, for all we just talked about, though, like the dealing with his own morality and passing on and this being a legacy,
I don't think
it would make sense.
Out of his story alive. I think he's making it probably out of this movie, yes. But yeah. In the next I
Maybe
don't.
He dies in the Avengers,
Wait, let's put it this way: when his contract is up, I think his life is up.
Ding, ding, ding. That's a good way to put it.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So, with that being said, then why don't we discuss what we do here at Clashing Sabers outside of podcasting?
Yeah. So we at Clashing Sabers, we do have a variety of different podcasts. You can find all of them in your feed. But aside from Podcast Network, we are first and foremost a nonprofit organization. And our aim is to get as many books into different schools around the country as possible. every single dollar we make goes towards this mission. So if you can join our Patreon or if you can donate one time, helps us get so many books into different schools and classrooms around the country. If you can't, that's fine. We totally understand. Head on over to clashingsabers.net and let us know of any school or teacher that could benefit from a lot of these stories.
Yeah, and in the reason for this,
Yeah, yeah. We'll give them extra books if you can get the Sports Illustrated and Bleacher Report reference to. Yeah, if you can do that. Yeah. Or if you can send any kind of recording of saying bounty hunter heavy hitters 5 times fast. What is happening? What is this? Has to be a wrestling thing. I don't know.